That bitter cold wind can certainly cut. I want to go back to the snow totals because here in New York, I've seen a variety of projections. What is the baseline projection for the Northeast or even just all the states that are expected to get snow?
So this is what AccuWeather's forecasting as of now. And as you mentioned, we're talking on Thursday. And I do know that some of these storm tracks have lifted this farther north. Why? Some of the model suggestions have said the cold air is not quite as strong, so it's going to allow that warm surge to come up, which means there's going to be more rain mixing in these locations, less snow, maybe a little bit more ice in some spots, and forcing that snow greater farther north because storms tend to take the boundary in between the cold and the warm air. So if it's still producing the same amount of moisture, it's just going to lift that moisture farther north. So with these snowfall accumulations, you kind of had to keep up on it. Continue to check your forecast. AccuWeather's exclusive forecast here does show that the bullseye will be probably in the Appalachians, somewhere between West Virginia and Virginia, northward into Pennsylvania. So parts of central Pennsylvania certainly could see more than a foot of snow, even along the Pennsylvania Turnpike, for example. As you get into cities like New York, we are forecasting 6 to 12 inches of snow there in the range. We have had around 4 to 8 inches officially in that forecast. So again, keeping an eye on the app, checking it frequently because we get all of these models and all this data coming in every few hours. We're even taking weather samples around the nation every couple of hours to strengthen the data and the modeling that we know. And so that's always going to kind of keep it to date with this track and change our snow total slightly. But again, this is giving you that idea of what we're expecting there from the I-95 corridor. It's going to be half a foot to even a foot of snow in some spots. So it's going to keep things pretty slow as we go into Sunday, even through Sunday night into Monday morning.
And disrupt travel as well. Melissa, I'm curious, how does this storm or this weather system compare to what we typically see in January? And is it bad enough that this will get a name, or is this just a kind of standard winter storm?
So in the U.S., we generally do not name winter storms. Standardly, the National Weather Service issues a lot of storm names, and they do that for hurricane season. They do not do that for winter storms. In Europe, it is different. Europe and the UK, they actually do name their winter storms. So sometimes I think that's where we're intrigued to get those winter storm names. There are some private companies that do name winter storms, but as a whole, the U.S. government and much of the meteorological world doesn't name winter storms. So we won't necessarily see a winter storm name with this. You might see it on some social media. And again, that's coming from private sectors of the meteorological world. Overall, though, what we do know, again, is as the storm continues to trek its way through, it's January. We are cold. We have the moisture now getting injected in. When you get both of those, that's what creates this kind of snow. We've had bigger snows in cities like DC, Philadelphia, New York, for example, and we can get them anywhere from January, February into March often. So this isn't anything too far out of the ordinary, but it certainly will cause some major inconveniences for those that will be trying to travel about as we go through the weekend and into the start of next work week. And for those on the ice side of the storm, it could be more than just inconveniences with the power outages. It can be a little bit more life-threatening with that risk for ice.
And finally, just because you mentioned social media, I have seen some rumors on some accounts saying New York is going to get 3 feet of snow or some crazy projections. So what is your recommendation for Forbes viewers who are watching this, who might be seeing wild projections and don't know what to think?
It's always so stressful. You probably think, why can't the meteorologist just ever figure it out and get it together? Well, there's a lot, again, of science that goes into this, and we're trying to present the best of it. But basically, you can get a lot of different model runs. And what we do is we look at a ton of different models. There are hundreds of models out there from parts of the government, like the Navy, for example, and different governments all across the world have their own models as well, such as Japan and Canada, as well as the UK. So we're trying to take in a lot of different data, and sometimes those models can start to wander off, especially the further from an event we are. They can try to extrapolate, oh, it's cold, I'm going to bring that cold air all the way into southern Florida. And that may not be the case, but some models tend to have their certain biases based on the mathematical data that goes into them. And so when people take snapshots of that and just run with it and say, this is what's happening, and they're not looking at all the different factors, that's where we tend to run away, I think, on social media. And we get those reports of, say, 3, 4, 6 feet of snow, which just aren't necessarily going to come to fruition. So again, I always stress, try to have multiple verified sources of weather information. So hopefully here at AccuWeather, of course, we have dozens of meteorologists behind me in calls and 24/7 working to make sure that we have the best forecast out there as possible, the most accurate forecast as possible. But even if you have trusted National Weather Service sources, double check those sources as well and see what that range is. Know the possibilities of what's going to happen in your area from trusted meteorologists. And then you can also assess, well, we have this range of possibilities. We can get this much snow to this much snow. Now at least you can prepare for that. So that way, hopefully when something falls within that range, you can be like, okay, we were prepared. And that's really what meteorologists want you to do, is make sure you have a way of staying prepared with the data that we're presenting you.
Stay informed and get ready. AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate your time and your insights.
Thank you, Maggie.